Now let's take a look at actually how we quickly can customize the interface of Blender. Blender follows a one window approach, so you do not have floating palettes, but instead you have one big workspace which you can slice vertically or horizontally into different windows, and then into those windows or spaces display specific types of contents. In the video before, you noticed that I was making use of those corner lines. And for example, if I left click and then push the mouse to the left side, you see that this way I quickly subdivided my screen into vertically into two parts. So for example, now I could have a left and a front view by pressing 1 inside this window and 7 inside this window. I could maybe move this one down. You see, if you click and then move the mouse left or right or up or down, you decide if you subdivide vertically or horizontally. If I would like everything to be merged back with this window, I cannot, for example, click on this icon here and then move my mouse to the right, because I have two windows in one window. That doesn't really work. What I have to do first is I click and move my mouse up, so I have one big left and one big window on the right, and then I can click and move it to the right. So let's do this quickly again, one more time. So you see, I can't move it over to the left side, but if I click on this one and move my mouse up and then move this one over, I can basically, merge those back together. So what is the whole point in having different workspaces? For example, let's say I would go into the animation job. I could show my timeline here and then browse through the different frames, or for example, show other pieces of information. For example, here you see this is one window. You notice that the mouse icon will switch to kind of like a move status icon, vertically or horizontally, when you move your mouse closer to those workspace edges, and then you can adjust those. For example, in this view space, I have my outliner listed. The outliner is basically kind of like a lister of all your objects, similar to the object lister inside Alias, and it tells me all the different objects, if they are visible, if, for example, they are clickable. I can't click this one. I can click my camera and my light, but I can't click my object. Now I can click my cube, if the object will be visible when I do a rendering or not. So that's actually kind of like a module to show what's inside your blend file in terms of lights, objects, textures, materials, etc. And then, for example, in the workspace below, there we have information presented, for example, for rendering, for the world, for the object, some modeling modifiers, information about the material system and textures. So you see that instead of going through like menus, you have more an icon-based approach, and then in each different window you can represent the information that are required for a certain task, like for example here modeling, getting an overview of your scene, or for example here having like the basic settings for your scene, your objects, materials, etc. And then, for example, inside this 3D view, you also have then, for example, here like a small menu for the view, let's say view left, view right, view top. So you can see it shows you the shortcut, so it's numpad 3 on an extended keyboard. If you're on a laptop and you have emulate numpad, then it's not numpad 3 but just 3. or for example, show the quad view or just single view. You have something to, like an option to select different objects, select the camera, select linked objects, select grouped object, inverse your selection, deselect everybody. And then you also have under object, like a listing of commands you could apply, for example, to an object you have selected. And then there are various other icons which I will introduce in a later time. So you see that also in each workspace, based on the mode you're in, you have different options or menu entries that provide you with tools or commands to work with the information that is represented.